Are we ready? All right. Hello once again with Between Two Skulls. I'm here with my good friend Darrell Plampin, correct?
Yeah.
Could you spell that for everybody?
Plampin.
Right.
No T's.
No K.
L's, no K's.
No pumpkins.
No.
I know for the longest time I thought there was a K in there somewhere.
People
but-
put it in there.
Anyways, Darrell was my apprentice for probably about a 4-year period. He's still apprenticing on paint, but he started off working, actually going to school at Jeffco, right? At the Skill Center?
Red Rocks Community
Red
College.
Rocks?
Yeah.
And a mutual friend hooked us up, and Gary Yost, who's the sound man for quite a few bands in the community and works here locally on the stagehand. But anyways, he suggested Darrell come over, and I wasn't really sure about the whole let's have an apprentice thing. I was a little uncertain about it, not in any sort of guarded way, like I was trying to preserve some way I do things, some secrecy like ninja swords or anything like that. But it was a pleasant experience having you here because you were very motivated. So Darrell and I have been friends for probably 6-7 years now.
God, I think it's going on 8.
Is it 8 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hello.
he used to have to do all the he did the wax on wax off thing. He did all the cleaning, all the brooming. He helped me out with stuff around here as well with the building procedures, and he's so far beyond being an apprentice at this point in time. He's actually kind of a co-worker, and he builds some fantastic instruments now, and I can honestly say that we're going to have a chance to see them and actually mess around with them a little bit this evening, along with a couple other things that you do. So Darrell, as it goes here on the show, I'm going to start you off with a couple awkward questions, and do your best to answer. And we have another guest here today. This is Smokey, my neighbor's cat, and Smokey spends the day over here at my shop because her family is gone. So she's a little demanding as far as attention, but we'll try to get to this interview with her involved. So what did you learn cleaning my shop? What did that teach you about guitar building?
Always have a place for your dustpan, so you know where to find it.
Right. And you know what? I don't know where my dustpan is.
Rule number 1.
I looked for it, and it's not there. Smokey. Was working with me more like working in Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do?
Oh boy. I'm gonna go with Cobra Kai. There's a lot of BMX bikes around.
You're right, man. We're definitely stepping back. If we go back into the old vintage, Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, I think, we definitely got the bases covered with the BMX. So, all right, another stupid one. Who would you rather cut your hair, your girlfriend or your sister?
Oh, my girlfriend's very talented at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You trust her completely then?
Well, yes.
But would you trust your sister to cut your hair if it came down to your girlfriend was unavailable?
I mean, it depends on which sister, but yeah. I'd still rather have my girlfriend do it.
All right.
That was one of the revelations of COVID-19.
That she was able to cut hair.
Cut my hair.
Right on. Does she use scissors or is she like a buzz?
She's more of a shearer girl, yeah.
Cool.
That, and I don't have any hair cutting scissors in my apartment, so.
There you are. What is more difficult, maintaining a relationship or working for a rock star?
Oh boy, it depends on which rock star, but it's really all maintaining relationships, isn't it?
I suppose. But I mean, who would be more demanding? Do you find that relationships and because you're gone. Let me preface this whole question. Darrell, besides the time that he has spent here working with me as an apprentice, has worked for many bands worldwide as guitar techs, stage manager, tour manager, production manager. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Why don't you throw some of those names at these people here so they can have a newer level of respect that you actually hung around this shop and humored me with the broom?
Well, over the last 5 years, it's been Bon Iver, Childish Gambino, The War on Drugs, The National, MGMT, to name a few.
Right on. You know, before, I had never heard of these guys, and you were coming to all these bands, and I said, man, these guys are all over the place. And then I'd have to go do the appropriate research. So I didn't feel like a complete fool, but, you know, obviously, you've been around here long enough to hear what comes out of my radio most of the time. In fact, I think Darrell put up with about 3.5 years of Lords of Distortion. Hey, check out this new song. Hey, check out this new song. Hey, check out this new song.
I don't know if it was as much putting up with as enjoying alongside.
Right on. All right, so this cat is a nut. What is the worst food you have eaten on all the continents you have traveled?
Oh man,
You can start with the continent, and then you could tell me what in particular you thought was labeled get that title.
I should have a good answer for this, a better one than I do right now, but there's a lot of really weird pickled things in Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely sure what all of them are.
Right.
But there's been some awkward moments in catering festivals.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. Scandinavia, Norway, when I was there, and I had a couple things that were kind of like, I didn't know if they were cooked, pickled, or raw. You know what I mean? I mean, the salmon was obvious, but some of the other fish that they had, it was very vague, and it tasted like it had been dead for 2 weeks before they decided to process it as of something edible. Right on.
And then they put it on a pizza.
Yes, and they put it on pizza over there too.
Or so-called pizza.
And we love the Norwegian people over there. They've been great to me every time. But they do have strange taste in pizza. I will say that.
It's one of my favorite places in the world.
It is awesome. I could find myself living there, no problem. I would have to learn the language though, but I don't think it'd be that difficult because so many of them speak English. What's up, dummy? All right. So, Darrell, not only being a successful luthier, he also builds some really killer little cigar box amps. Why don't you tell us some about your amps there, Darrell?
Man, they're super fun. Upcycled cigar boxes that have become a fun thing to hunt for on the road. This particular brand of box being a heavy favorite for sure, for potentially obvious reasons when it comes to guitar players, but super cool. Few channels of overdrive in this one, volume and a tone. I make some that come with MP3 inputs as well as the guitar input. Headphones work alongside the guitar input, so if you're trying to learn a solo, you can plug your MP3 player into one that has an MP3 input, listen to it on headphones, and play your guitar alongside it. But super cool, great for dressing rooms, great for living rooms, great for hotel rooms, great for tour buses.
Yeah, they're great for shops too. I mean,
Great for shops.
it's a great little tool to have around. It's very portable, obviously. You know, lugging in a half stack to do testing on electronics on an instrument seems kind of pointless, but anymore that might be the only real action guitar playing I get. So, why don't you tell us about some of the instruments you brought in, and then we can talk to you about your experience as a somebody who worked on the road with the bands and some of the things you've discovered about the music industry and so forth and such.
Sure, yeah.
Let's start with the instrument, man.
Well, this is a model that I call the Darrell, which is actually a nickname that I got on the road. Obviously based on a Les Paul, but with a little bit of an angle to it, and it's a little wider and bigger. This particular one's the chambered version with the custom crescent F-holes. Also my offset block inlay design, which I really like, especially on this model, because it kind of just gives an angle to the whole thing. 25.5-inch scale on this guy. I also do a junior model of the same size or same design. That's a 24 3/4 scale, a little bit of a smaller body, so it's a little more of a compact of an instrument. This bridge I really like too. This was just a chrome tunematic bridge, but under your guidance I learned about a new material that I can ceramic coat it with, and I just really love the way that it looks and the way that it feels.
Yeah, it looks great. And you know, one thing too that I have enjoyed, you know, watching your progress as a builder, you have been willing to take chances on fresh body shapes, design, styling. So often, builders find the easiest path to go down to, and sometimes that will require replicating other instruments. And you know, there's a market for it. Obviously, that's why they're doing it. But it is a challenging road. Not only from an engineering standpoint, but aesthetically, you know, trying to find something that is going to sell, work with, you know, the customers that you have at hand. So,
Well, I have a lot of respect for tradition, and obviously that's a good place to start, just building copies of what other people have established have worked. And I think in any of the designs I do, there's a nod to tradition, and it starts from that tradition, but kind of has my own feel to it, and that's kind of the idea and kind of the goal. Like to separate myself as a unique builder as much as possible.
and you find building an instrument, what, I guess, what aspect have you found to be the most difficult to master?
Finishing. Without a doubt, 100% finishing. There's no way I could be doing what I'm doing without your tutelage in that, and I'm still working on it for sure.
Well, you're doing really good, and I know a lot of builders, you know, they definitely subcontract out, you know, quite a bit of their finish work and stuff. But I would have to agree. I think that it's like putting the icing on the cake, literally. You know, and you're getting to that point, especially when you're doing something like this with a sunburst. You know, one slip with a razor blade, one slip scraping back the binding on the edges and stuff like that, and then you find yourself in a whole nother learning curve of repairing your own damages.
Or one drip out of a spray gun.
Right. You know what? I didn't even notice that. It almost looks like a knot on the surface.
Yeah.
But
I got lucky there.
you almost have to learn to forgive yourself when you're doing this stuff. You have to, you know, I've gone to NAMM so many times, and I've gone into every department, and everybody talks about how flawless paint is on a guitar. I have yet to see a guitar that I couldn't go dink right there. You know what I mean? Paint is a malleable medium. It's a liquid. It's always a liquid. It's never a solid, and it likes to attract anything it can. So it is challenging, but you know what? Your stuff is looking really good, man. And the fact that you're accomplished as much as you have with the finishing, I think I feel good about that, knowing that I at least have been able to provide you with that as a builder to encompass the sense of wholeness. I think that it's definitely a part. It gives you full control over the whole project as you see it, and it's very important. I think that a lot of builders and a lot of the education, I think some of the technical schools, they don't have time to possibly teach you how to paint a guitar. It's difficult to do it in the 3 or 4 days that I have with the airbrush art circus.
Yeah.
Trying to encompass everything, because there's so many things that can go wrong. So many things.
And they will.
Yeah, it will. It will go wrong. It's something that you'll learn to master and repairs, I guess, at the same time. But why don't you grab the red design on that one?
Swap these guys out.
And I really like this one, man. It's got that 60s, 70s Japanese import vibe.
It does.
You know, it's got that retro feel to it. I like the non-rounded contours on the edges. I like them being focused a little bit more, not such a big radius. It works really well. I was a little skeptical, honestly. I didn't say anything because it's not my decision, or I shouldn't have any impact on your creative process. But I was skeptical on the pick guard and that line being vertical in the design. I wasn't sure how that was going to look, but I think that's what really sets it apart from what could be more strongly influenced by a Leo Fender design. You know, and obviously people are going to associate this particular guitar with that in some sense because of the 3 single coil pickups, the double cutaway, and the pick guard, and the bridge as well.
Yeah.
So tell us about it, man.
Man, you touched on a few things that I'm really happy to hear you touch on. Again, you know, I have a respect and an admiration for tradition and what Leo did. Been building a lot of single cutaway guitars inspired by Les Pauls, and figured it was time to add a double cutaway Fenderish sort of design to my repertoire. So as much as this looks and feels like a Strat, it isn't. The body shape's a little bit different. I'm really glad you touched on the hardness of this line. And the straightness of the pickguard. If you look at the junior version of that Darrell body design that I've done, I do a pickguard on that one as well with a straight cut. So I want, you know, if and when I have these guitars on store shelves, if there's one of this hanging next to a Darrell Junior, I want that straight line at the end of a pickguard to kind of be a design aesthetic of mine that carries over from model to model.
That's great.
So hopefully as I continue to work on my own designs, they'll all be unique and different, but carry consistent aesthetics through it. That'll kind of be part of my brand and who I am as a builder.
Yeah. What are your goals? I mean, obviously you have been through a lapse with the music industry this year with the COVID craziness.
Sure have.
How has that changed or influenced your direction as a guitar builder?
Well, honestly, it hasn't changed much as far as guitar building. My desire to build guitars was sort of twofold in its inception, sort of a long game and a short game. In the short term, it just makes me more familiar with the instrument and capable as a guitar tech and worth more to the guitar players that I'm working for and working with. The long-term vision is that I know that I don't want to tour forever, and I don't think anybody should. I don't think it's healthy for a long-term lifestyle, but I appreciate it for what it is in my life right now, and I'm very proud of what I do as a guitar tech. But I know that guitars have always been my passion, always will, and I'm trying to set myself up for a future beyond the road.
Right on.
With guitar building.
Well, I think you're definitely well on your way. It's something that it's an adventure no matter where you're at with your skill level. You always want to push yourself in different directions, and you know, you just try to maintain a sense of freshness and try not to suffer from burnout. I think it's the biggest challenge when you apply yourself with so much passion. It's something that, you know, myself, I have battled, you know, in the same regards in a lot of different ways. But I've got a few years on you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's any creative process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Figure out a way to stay fresh and stay excited about what you're creating.
Yeah. Well, you've got, you know, a pretty good collection of some serious instruments now. I think getting them out in the public eye, I think when we get this whole COVID, you know, closure down, get it out of the way, I think that, you know, once you stick some shows going, I think it's really going to help with what you want to do. And, you know, eventually it's going to be a tough decision. You're going to say, I'm going out on the road this year, or I'm going to stay home and build guitars. It's inevitable you're going to face that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a tough decision, and definitely I have been in that spot before to have to translate between the two and say which is going to make sense at this time. And as scary as it is, I will tell you that I know you well enough that no matter what it is, and you decide to take the step with the guitars, I think you're not in the type of character that's going to let yourself fail at it. And I think that you're going to find, you know, the energy and, you know, the ways to which it happens. I think a certain amount of it has to be a leap of faith, you know, and a sense of self-trust, knowing that you're not going to let yourself down. And so many people lack that. And that was one of the cool things I liked having you around, as the initiative you took on this stuff. It was really good to see. I didn't want to waste my time. You know what I mean?
And I don't want to waste yours.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was cool. So let's talk about the roadie, the tech. Tell us about some of the spots. What you find the most coolest tour you've been on working for?
Oh boy, well the funnest one is always Asia.
Yeah.
It's actually the only tour I will have done in 2020. We did 2.5 weeks with Bon Iver in Asia in January of this year. So we were lucky to get that one in before it all closed down. But Asia is just always the most special place to be. Everybody's so excited to be there, and the crowds are so excited to have us, and we came so far to get there. It's always the most feels like the most fulfilling.
Right
to me,
on.
for sure.
And which countries would you be hesitant to go back to?
I don't care to ever go to Manila ever again. Glad to have had that experience for sure, because I feel like that gives me a lot of perspective in life. But it's one of those like challenging experiences.
And there's a lot of language. They speak English over there as well, or is it not
Yeah,
so
I
common?
mean, most everywhere that we go, at least the people that we're working alongside and with speak English, and if not, there's plenty of translators around. I think what was the most difficult about Manila was the juxtaposition of rich and poor, with and without. And, you know, we were down there to play a festival. There were $100 tickets per person, and staying in a 4-star hotel that's literally across the street from poverty and shanty towns. And it's sort of an overwhelming experience knowing what you're there to do and who you're there to do it for. And whether or not you're comfortable with that.
Right, right. But in the end, you respected the fact that you have to work for the people who are hiring you to do the job, and you turmoil along the way, watching the cultural differences and stuff like that. And it's something I guess you don't really think about, because, I mean, most people think guys working in the music business as a guitar tech, they think, you know, the stereotypical, you know, the guys from the movies, you know what I mean? The, you know, long hairs. And...
Which is exactly why I hate the word roadie.
I know. That's why we threw it in there, for sure. But what would you like to say about your contacts? How can people get a hold of you, find out about more of your guitar building and your amplification?
DWP Guitars. DWP Guitars is my .com is my website. Social media, it's at DWP_guitars. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Try to stay pretty active on social media, just to you know, let people know what I'm up to.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming over here and hanging out and talking to everybody about you know, what you do and the turmoils of being an apprentice here at Learn Industries.
Hey man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really appreciate everything you've given me and the time you've taken to
Right on.
educate me and guide me along on this. It's something I'm passionate about, but definitely couldn't have done on my own.
Likewise, I appreciate everything you've done over here for us and helping Diana out when I'm not around, taking care of the shop when I've had to run home for emergencies, and doing all that fun stuff. And it's been a pleasure. So I hope more people take the opportunity to maybe mentor younger people who are ambitious and have some incentive and drive. I think that it's a good way to help people out. It's a good way to spread positive karma and help change lives with a little bit of effort.
Couldn't agree more.
Right on. Well, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next episode. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.